Hi, my name's Chris Thomas, and welcome to my very first fountain pen review on YouTube. It is literally the first review I've ever done on YouTube, so please do go easy on me for these first few reviews as I my way, no doubt, through the review. Hopefully I'll get a little bit better on that as time goes by. What I hope to be able to do over the coming weeks and months is bring you my own thoughts on a range of fountain pens from quite a number of different manufacturers, a number of different price ranges, and really just bringing you my own thoughts on what I like about pens, what I think makes certain pens work and other pens perhaps not work so well. There are some very fine reviewers on YouTube looking at pens that I've been reviewing for quite some time, and also what I would hope to do is bring you a few pens which perhaps have already been reviewed, but giving you my own thoughts on those. But one or two pens which hopefully haven't been reviewed, which we can look at, talk about, and hopefully invite comment on. So the very first pen I'd like to bring you is a pen that I've had my eyes on for some time. It comes from a firm called Mr. Pen, and it is the Italix Parsons Essential. This is a pen which is actually made in the Far East. It's made in the Far East. It's imported to the UK, where Mr. Pen take the pen apart, really customise the pen effectively, regrind the nib, polish the nib, and put their own mark on it. And what we actually have is a pen that really has a solid quality feel to it. One of the great things about this pen is it comes in a number of different options, both in terms of nibs. There's a huge range of nib options that include italic options, cursive options, etc. There really is a nib for everybody, literally. But also the range of colours. I first actually tried this pen in black, and a good friend of mine, VJ Mystery, who runs the MTN Fountain Pen and Inks group on Facebook, bought one of these some weeks ago. I tried his and immediately fell in love with it. His, as I say, is the black version. It also comes in an amber version. And in fact, I didn't realise that this blue version existed until I went on the website a few days ago to order the amber version, scroll down, and suddenly, lo and behold, was the blue version, which I immediately fell in love with in terms of the colour. It's a beautiful looking pen. It is a weighty pen. It's made of brass. Mr. Pen coated in piano lacquer, which it says on the website makes it very, very durable. In fact, it makes it virtually scratch proof, they claim. I'm not going to test it. I'm going to take their word for it. It's important to me from that point of view that it is durable, because I have to say I tend to take my pens to work. And although I use pen cases, they're in and out of suit pockets, etc. So they can take a little bit of knocking around. So it's good to know that this is a pen which, even if it isn't scratch proof, is scratch resistant to some degree. So it's going to take, I think, a fair bit to do this pen any real damage as far as the surface is concerned. But it is a beautiful surface. It's a blue marble effect. It's got a lovely finish, very, very smooth finish. It's a cigar-shaped pen. As I say, the weight is pretty substantial, about 35 grams actually. So if you like a fairly weighty pen, and I do, I've got fairly large hands, and I like a pen to feel substantial in my hand. This isn't the most substantial pen in terms of its size, but it's certainly a weighty pen that has a good feel about it. It's got a gold clip, pretty plain, just very, very straightforward, with a rounded end, and a particularly nice touch, I think, and I hope you can see this. I'm filming this on an iPhone, and I hope maybe in the future I'll start to film on something a little more sophisticated, so we'll experiment with this and see how we get on. But I think you can see probably just around the middle there's a very nice engraved gold band. I have to say I think the pen would work perfectly well without that band, but it certainly does look very nice. It complements the gold clip. And overall, it does have a very traditional appearance to it. It reminds me maybe of a Conway Stewart or something like that, where it has I think quite a British, almost colonial appearance to it. Really, it is a very traditional pen, but I like that. It's maybe not the pen for you if you like something that's modern, that's out there a little more. And obviously there are pens out there like that exist at not dissimilar prices. but there is something comforting about this. It's a very British pen, and it just has a nice feel and a nice appearance to it. Again, in terms of the manufacture, it's got a really good feel to the screw cap. It revolves probably about 3 or 4 revolutions to close. And there's a very satisfying, not so much a click, but a very firm closure to it, which again, if you're carrying the pen around in your pocket during the daytime, certainly means that you won't be worrying too much about the cap coming off in your pocket and leaking ink all over your suit or your best clothes or your pen case or your handbag, whatever. So it has got a very nice, satisfying closure to it, which I like. There's a feeling of solidity, a little bit like closing a high quality car door, and you get that very gentle clunk. It really does have that quality feel to it, which is not bad in a pen that came for, as I say, about £47 delivered. It's £42 including the VAT, with around about £5 delivery, so it's about £47 all in. And an excellent service, by the way, for Mr. Penn. I ordered it around about lunchtime on a Wednesday, and it duly arrived by first class post, recorded delivery the next day. You can ask for at a price, you can ask for guaranteed next day delivery, but to be perfectly honest, with delivery like that on the standard service, I'm honestly not sure whether it's worth it. The section is plastic, black plastic, and actually has a nice feel to it. As I said earlier, have really quite chunky hands, and it's a larger pen actually feels more comfortable to me. But I think most people would find this a fairly comfortable pen to hold. I have to say that I haven't written with it for a protracted period of time yet, and I will be doing that over the coming weeks. But nonetheless, it gives me the impression that it will be very comfortable if you're using it for an extended period of time, which again just adds to that feeling of comfort. There's a very fine, I think you can probably just about see again, a very fine gold band around the base of the barrel, which again just complements the gold on the cap, and also the nib. And while we're looking at that, the nib is a German nib. It's German made, and as I say, adapted in the UK, reground, repolished, etc. Really to give the pen some consistency, and I would hope that from the point of view of those customizations, this is a pen which will be very reliable in terms of its ink flow and the performance of the nib. It's obviously a little bit more expensive than something like a Lamy Safari, or a Lamy All-Star, I should say, the aluminium version. But in saying that, the Lamy All-Star, I've had many of them. I've had good nibs, I've had bad nibs. They tend to be somewhat inconsistent in my experience. If you get a good one, they're great. If you get a bad one, I've thrown 1 or 2 away, quite frankly, and actually bought new nibs for them. So this is a nib which I think should perform very, very well. When I tested it out some weeks ago before I bought this, when I was trying VJ's pen, I was very, very impressed with the smoothness. It laid down a very even line. The flow was excellent, no hard starts, etc., etc. And at first impressions, it was a nib which performed. I think it's fair to say it punches above its weight. It's a nib which I think you could probably pay £80 to £100 for on certain pens, and not get a better writing experience than this, which all adds to it. And of course, it's with the pen parts being made in the Far East, a German nib, English customization. It's also, I would add, a German Schmidt, a standard Schmidt converter. This is a pen which really has something of an international feel about it, even though it's a very British looking pen, with Far East components, German components, and English finishing. So it's a little bit of everything in there. And the converter, as I say, is a standard Schmidt converter, and I think you can see that if I hold up the standard international short cartridge that comes with it, let me just take the converter out of the pen for a second. You can see that the amount of ink that you're going to get in there is very roughly equivalent with a standard short cartridge. our writing characteristics and volume of writing are all different, of course. I tend to find if I fill one of these converters for normal everyday use but not excessive use, they tend to last me about a week to 2 weeks. So I tend to get quite a lot of usage out of them before I refill them up. And being somewhat OCD with ink, I never throw ink away, so I always insist on finishing a full converter before I'll actually either refill the pen or put it into my rotation system, etc., etc. So let's screw that back up, put the cap back on, and there we have it. That's the Parsons Essential by Italix from Mr. Pen. As I say, a pen that I've been very impressed with. My first impressions with it, I've only had it a couple of days now, but my first impressions have been very, very good. It's a pen that I think I'm going to enjoy using, and it's a pen that I think in this case I can highly recommend to you. So that's about it. I hope you've enjoyed my first video. I'm sorry for the stumblings along the way. Hopefully we'll get rid of those as time goes by. Please feel free to comment any questions, anything you'd like to know. I'd be more than happy to answer and engage in a little chat about the pens that I review, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Many thanks.